Hi, I'm Jarrett Murphy from City Limits, coming to you from the City and State Video Studio. I'm joined by Fitzroy Christian from Casa, an organization in the Bronx. And Fitzroy, why don't you tell us a little bit about Casa and its work? What do you guys get up to?
Okay, my name is Fitzroy Christian, and I'm a Casa leader. Casa stands actually for Community Action for Safe Apartments. We are a project of New Settlement Apartments, which is a community developer in the Southwest Bronx. We are one of the groups, and our focus is on housing. We organize tenants into tenants associations. We try to empower tenants through lots of training, including monthly workshops, at which we also have legal clinics so that tenants who have issues in housing court have free access to lawyers from legal services, Bronx Defenders, Legal Aid, Urban Justice Center, and other legal providers. So they get an understanding of what they can expect when they go to housing court, what their rights are, how to prepare themselves. And if the case is worthy enough, especially if it is going to impact more than just that tenant, maybe a building wide, then one of those groups may want to take the case on as a group-wide case or as in a building case so that everybody can benefit from the litigation.
So the people you work with, the people you organize, are low-income, working-class people in New York.
Yeah.
Precisely the kind of people that, at least ostensibly, are being targeted for help through the mayor's affordable housing plan. So when you heard about the plan, did it sound like good news to you? Was it something you'd been looking for?
The answer to that may sound kind of weird, but it was a good plan that I was very much afraid of.
Tell us more.
Okay. We understand that the South Bronx in particular has been a neglected area for a very, very long time. The previous administrations had virtually disinvested in that area of the New York City. We were, even more than Staten Island, the forgotten borough. So yes, hearing that the mayor wanted to include our area of the Bronx in his plan to preserve and build 200,000 new apartments or apartments for the lower income people was exciting. It means that at last we were being looked at as people who are deserving of some of the riches of New York City. But at the same time, we saw what happened in 4th Avenue in Brooklyn. We see what is happening now in East New York. We saw how where promises were made that people were going to be kept in their communities. We saw where people were promised that there was not going to be any displacement, that there was not going to be any discrimination against or any harassments against the present tenants, and that most of them would be able to remain where they are. We saw that that wasn't true. So yes, we were very skeptical, especially since they had begun the process of studying Jerome Avenue and a quarter-mile radius on either side of it as an impact area. Right. For about 5 months before the word leaked out that they were doing this. There were no announcements made to the community. There was no effort made to involve or engage the community in any way or form to say, we want you to contribute to this. We want to know what your vision is. What are the things that you would like to see in your community? If we are going to be upzoning it, what do you want to keep? What is essential to you in your community? What is lacking that you would like to have come in? If you want to do retail, what kind of retail would you want to come in? What do you want to keep?
Has that changed since then? Is city planning being more responsive now? I know that they did change at least the name of the study area from Cromwell Jerome, which is kind of like newfangled neighborhood no one had ever heard of, to Jerome Corridor, which is, I guess, some sort of a nod to the fact that the community wanted it to be called something else. Had they been responsive on any other front?
Yes. Suddenly they have announced 3 community forums, 3 community meetings. One is going to be this Saturday at the Bronx Museum of the Arts in the Grand Concourse, where we are not so sure of the format, whether they're going to be presenting the plans and just ask for wider participation and do you like it? let's tweak it a little bit, or if it is going to be a real visioning meeting where they're going to be asking residents and small business owners, what are your ideas? What is your vision of the area? How would you like to see it? What can we do to make sure that your history there, your traditions there are preserved as much as possible while we upgrade it and make it better for you? What new things do you want? Green space, schools, transportation changes. We don't know if they're going to be asking that.
So let's say they do ask that at some point, or you force them to listen. What do you say? How does a neighborhood like that absorb a denser concentration of residential housing, presumably some of it quote unquote affordable, without changing its character, without losing the street front retail and the auto mechanic shops and other things that characterize it? What are you hoping to get if they sit down and say, okay, what's your wish list?
It is going to be, for me, and the discussions we have been having with some of the smaller businesses, tenants in the area, that they want basically what is there, or we want basically what is there, only better.
Okay.
Yes, as societies grow, communities grow, there's a natural evolution. Things are going to change. Some of us go older, our children grow up and continue where we left off. Because of the education that they have that we didn't have, they may have a higher income. They're going to be demanding more things that we didn't have. So there's going to be some natural changes that's going to take place anyway, which we welcome. But if it's going to be accelerated because of city input, we would like it so that what we have, our traditions, remain as intact as possible, while those who are coming in to join us will bring added flavor to it. So, which means there has to be in place strict, enforceable anti-displacement laws. There have to be strict anti-harassment laws in place, because we do know that when land values change, developers, landlords, they begin to speculate. All of a sudden, they can get more for their apartments, for their buildings, than we're getting now. That incentivizes them to do a lot of dirty tricks, as we call it, to get tenants out. Because if you could get them out, you could probably get the apartment off the rent stabilized list and go to market rate. We are already seeing that happening, where a lot of the auto workers, the auto businesses, they're no longer being tendered renewal of their leases. And those who are seeing their lease tripling, quadrupling, from $3,000 to $12,000, $15,000 per month. Just because the owners, most of them rent the space. They don't own the land and they don't own the buildings. So all of a sudden, the landlords and the developers see where they can force them out with these ridiculous increases in rent. And when those businesses are closed, it's easier to transform that lot into residential lots, where they're going to be building up. Because we all know that residential property is much more profitable than a business property. And we are seeing that's happening. Several places have closed. A lot of the people there are complaining, the auto merchants in the area, both the body shops, the mechanics, and the stores that support them with glass, mirrors, sound security, window shades, all of the merchants involved in auto-related businesses, they're already complaining that they're being pressured out. The only thing we are hoping for is that the mayor would explain as soon as possible how the protection is going to work. Because right now we don't have any clear idea. We know he has $36 million set aside, but that's for the 15 areas he has earmarked for upgrading, upzoning. How it is going to work, where they're going to complain to, how are they going to get the legal assistance they need to fight against the harassment and the displacement efforts, We don't know.
Casa represents the community, but it's obviously it's a big area. There are a lot of people who live there, and one thing that's come up in the past with disputes like this is that sometimes different elements of the community want different things and are willing to accept different things. Do you feel there's cohesion there? Or, do you feel that everyone in that area is on the same page?
To a large extent, yes. And I will use last Thursday evening, the 5th of March, as an example. If you remember, well, it was horrible weather, just snowing all day up until late Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon. Yesterday we had over 500 people packing up the LPAC, the Latino Pastoral Action Center. We had people from all walks of life. We had the trade unions there. We had the construction workers union, electricians, plumbers, masons, carpenters. We had people from Northwest Bronx, clergy and community coalition. We had people from 101 black construction workers. We had a whole lot of people. We had some people, I don't know how large, from the United Auto Merchants Association who were there as well. We had some faith-based people who were there. So yes, we did get a whole lot of people from the community that were present, and they had all committed to meeting again on the 30th, which will be the first time we're going to start mapping out that vision of what we want for what we would like to see happening in the community.
So last question, worst case scenario, the administration goes ahead with its plans and for whatever reason doesn't listen to the community's demands, doesn't accept your input. What happens then? What action do you foresee groups like yours in the community taking to react to that?
It may take a whole lot of community organizing in the sense of marches, demonstrations, maybe petitioning City Hall, maybe going to Albany, maybe using the courts. We do know that it is going to be extremely difficult so long as the ULURP process starts to stop it. If we see that we are not being listened to, that we're still excluded from the process, we may have to maybe engage, I will say, maybe talk to the legal people, the urban justice centers, the legal services corporations, the legal aid, Bronx defenders, people with the legal expertise to determine what we can do to either slow down the process or force the administration to include the voice of the people who are being impacted. Right now, there's not much we can do because they're saying it is just a study. We have no concrete plans. We are not in the process of doing anything, of implementing anything. We're just looking to see what the area can be like. It's a walking tour. So we have nothing to offer. So we cannot say that we are going to be opposed to anything because we don't know what they're doing. They have not given us any clear indication as to what it is that they are going to be doing. But we will have to be prepared, I think, to think ahead so that if they continue to ignore the community, if there's no input from the community, if they go ahead to impose their vision on us, as they have done in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, then we have to see what the next steps are, what resources are available to us to alter that decision one way or another, so that we are not forced out of our communities. Because it is quite possible that their vision would work against the interests of the people who are there. We are hoping that we can be a part of it so that our interests are front and center in any discussion, so that it's a win-win. The city gets the housing for the low-income people, the people who need help. We get to preserve what affordable housing we now have, and we get some more. and then we get to stay in our communities, and our communities will grow rather than be drastically changed.
Well, please keep us posted, Fitzroy. Thanks for
We'll
coming.
do that, and thanks, John.